Gotham Geek Girl here, and I am joined by the incredibly talented Trevor Dietz from McFarlane Toys. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's exciting to be here on your channel.
Yes, thank you for
Yeah,
doing this.
yeah.
So, I got to meet Trevor at the New York Comic Con McFarlane Toys after party event, where I got to get like a little sneak peek of the digital storefront, which was absolutely amazing. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So the Spawn launch series came from Todd McFarlane and his McFarlane Toys line. McFarlane Toys is like a big industry leader when it comes to action figures. So it's really cool to see what they're doing now with digital, and it's a new way to collect, which is pretty exciting. I'd love to hear about all this from you. And you're a digital content builder, product manager, producer, and game developer. You do a
Yes.
lot.
Yeah.
um,
I get yeah. I guess a little bit about me. So I currently work. I'm a product manager at McFarlane Toys. I'm running the McFarlane Toys digital program, which is basically a new digital collecting content that we're building, as well as a platform to collect on. You hinted on some other stuff that I've done. So like before I was with McFarlane Toys, I was working in this digital collecting space, and then before that, I worked in the games industry. I was at a Riot Games for a number of years, working on a. I didn't work on League of Legends. I was working on their trading card game on Legends of Runeterra, and then I was at a Sony Santa Monica working on God of War Ragnarok, which is exciting because that game literally comes
oh,
out in like 5 days. And
oh
I
my
have
god.
the here, I have the mug to prove
Yes.
it.
Oh my god, that's like the most anticipated game like ever.
Oh my I left there it's been a while since I worked on it, so it'll be interesting because like when games are developed, there's like the it's not like you come up with the idea and then you build it and it's done. You build a game like 50 times over the course of development because you build something, you test something to make sure it works. If it's not working, you go back and you tweak it, and you have to do a lot of building and rebuilding until it's really good. And then you can like that's the final thing. So it'll be interesting to see how it's changed since I was last working on it. But I'm like what I saw was like super ambitious and I'm really excited for it. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that. I mean,
No,
that's
that's
coming.
cool anyway. Can you kind of explain to us, I guess, what it is exactly that you do? Like, what is a content builder?
Yeah, so basically my role is it's a bit of like what we call like product management and a bit of production. So I am basically when I joined the McFarlane Toys team, they have an incredible staff and an incredibly talented team that's really focused at building physical physical collectibles. They like the incredible team of artists who model all of the figures, and then they have other manufacturing teams that make those figures, packaging, and then distribution, and then all the tech teams on their side that, for example, run the website. The team doesn't necessarily have the team wanted to get into digital collecting into this space because we've seen like that's a really exciting space for us. It solves a lot of problems that physical collecting has, and it's a very early space, so it's cool. And like we think there's a mix of the technology that makes the collecting power the collecting function is finally getting there, but also importantly really high-end rendering and visualization tech that can run on a lot of devices is getting there as well. So we felt like this was a good time for us to get into both. However, as a team, McFarlane focused on physical toys. Digital is a new thing. So my role is I built and I lead the teams that are making all their digital content and the digital platform, obviously based off the incredible work that the physical like the physical toy artists and developers are doing.
So they're going to be released with the physical counterparts as a bundle or digital only releases. So those that love physical collecting, you can have both, which is awesome. But certain pieces from McFarlane Toys 30 years will only be released as digital. Is that correct? And can you tell us about how the figures are chosen as digital releases?
Yeah, so to answer a bit of that, basically the way we're going to be releasing pieces, we'll have three different like kind of release formats. We're going to have like bundled, where basically you buy the physical and you get the digital with it. And the idea is, and with that, of course, you get the physical figure, and then you will get the digital version like delivered to you to your digital wallet that you would store it in. We'll also be releasing what we're kind of calling day and date, where you have the digital piece and the physical piece sold to get on the same date for the same price. And then probably and then the third thing, which is something that I think a lot of people are getting excited about, is this idea of like going back into the McFarlane Vault. We have this 30-year history building really high quality collectibles with every brand, every licensor under the sun. For us, it's really exciting, and we never re-release a piece. We always make new. For us, it's really exciting to actually be able to go back to some of those old legacy pieces and re-release them in digital format. So it's a new like first appearance of that piece in a new format. And for us, that is something that's really exciting because there's so much amazing content in there that many people haven't had the opportunity to collect. And this is a new way for them to do it.
And I guess kind of with the price point, how will the bundle work? Like, is it kind of like paying double for a digital and a physical? Like, how does that kind of work?
When they're bundled, it'll be over the like physical only price point, but the idea isn't that it's like, and the pricing will change per piece, but we're trying not to aim for like double. For us, it's really important to, again, going back to McFarlane's history of like really trying to deliver really high quality pieces at a really reasonable price point. That's always been like the motto of the company, and so it really let it stand out originally 30 years ago when it was founded. We want to bring that same philosophy that let us really stand out back then to digital, because right now there's a lot of in this digital collecting space, there's a lot of expensive stuff that doesn't look particularly good. And we think that needs to change, and we want to be the people to go in and change that. That's why we're building this content the way we are, and that's also why we price like equivalent if the physical and the digital are priced the same, and trying to hit that exact same quality bar.
That's great. And so we've seen Spawn the Redeemer, the Clown were announced, and Spawn. What other figures can we expect? And did you have any other like favorites that you've worked on?
So we're not going to go too far into announcing new figures quite yet, just because we want to make sure we want to keep the focus on this first drop. Certainly you saw videos of some stuff that we had at the event, so I'm sure you can comment on it. Cough cough, the dragons, cough cough. Like we know what we've shown off. For me, the stuff that I get most excited by, it's really just like the teams that we built that we're working on. And honestly, everything right now, Redeemers. Okay, I'll say Redeemers my favorite of the three right now. I think they all look awesome. But what gets me really excited about this is that we get to really operate at a really high level of quality. Like basically the McFarlane team has let us, the McFarlane Toys team has just let us run with this and build it as basically no expense spared, make them as good as we possibly can, and also build them to meet or exceed the expectations of our collectors, of our current collector base, as well as the fans of these IP. We think the kind of person who's going to go spend money on figures is clearly a super fan of these like whether it's like a DCP figure or like a Spawn figure or any of the other stuff that we have on our site. If they're buying a piece like this, they're really into it, and they also have a certain expectation of quality, and that's why they came to McFarlane. We know that they have that expectation of quality in the digital and in the media space as well, because you see the films, you see the quality bar of those films. They're like, the production values are insane. You see the production value in the games that come out, that AAA games. We have to meet that quality in order to be able to reach that audience, because if we're not meeting that expectation, we're just not going, it's just not going to be exciting to them. So for us, we've built a team that we believe allows us to hit that level, and we think people are seeing that it starts reflecting in the pieces. Like we put out that tease that's like comparing the physical Spawn to the digital one side by side, and you can we hope that people can see it and get excited by, wow, they really feel the same in that sense.
Yeah, and like literally when you were showing like the rotations of the items, it's like, whoa, this is like literally like a toy, but
Yeah,
in a digital format. It's really cool.
yeah, and it's a toy with a lot of added bonuses to it. Number one, you can actually play with it without damaging it. Like you never have to worry about your pieces getting.
Like I can open it.
Yeah, you can open it and you can actually play with it. And because it's digital, it will maintain that quality. Number one. Number two, digital space is functionally infinite. You will never run out of shelves to put stuff on. And so for us, that's exciting. We know that's a big thing with collectors. Honestly, like the joke is like the biggest thing to drive, like because we're not a real estate company, we don't sell larger homes for people to put their stuff in. This is our way to give people that larger amount of space that they can put their collectibles in and never run out of space to collect. So that's really exciting. The grading side of collecting, the idea that you have to like send in pieces and wait weeks or months, and it costs a lot of money and a lot of time. And then even when you get a piece, even the grades can be like, is it real or fake? And even the grades now can be real or fake. Like in the digital space, if you don't have that problem because of the nature of the technology that we're using. Like, you know where it came from, you can always trace it back because all that information is effectively public. So you avoid that grading issue and all the costs that come with that. And then of course the fact that it's digital allows us to do really cool things that you just can't do with physical toys. Like for example, being able to share your collection. Usually you have to invite people over and they have to come to whatever the room is that you keep all your stuff in, whatever corner of the house you're allowed to keep it in. It's like that you have to bring them over to show it. When it's digital, it's on this app, it's social. Anybody from anywhere in the world can instantly drop into your room and marvel at the size of your collection. The whole thing is also designed to reward collectors in terms of we have like an experience system built in that's basically tracking what you've collected, how long you've collected, all that kind of stuff, and then rewarding you down the line with exclusive collectibles like chase figures, that kind of thing, as well as access to exclusive drops. Basically, we're building that all into the system, which is something we can't really build in on the physical side to the same degree. So all that we hope will kind of paint a picture of how exciting digital collecting can be.
Yeah, it's like, welcome to my art gallery, and I
Yeah.
can have all these pieces shown.
Yeah, and of course you can have like as many pieces as you want, and you can also have as many art galleries as you want, so you can keep expanding. Like this could be your art gallery themed entirely just to Spawn, and this can be your art gallery themed entirely to like what's another thing on the side, like a DC or something like that. Like you can theme it to everything, and we're going to give you all the tools to build your own gallery beyond just having the collectibles. We also have like basically display cases and shelving units and stuff that you can put in your gallery to decorate it with.
Oh, that's awesome. So you like buy these like extra like accessories, like building.
The first few are going to be included when you download. So it's like you
Awesome.
basically, when you get the piece, you connect your digital wallet to the viewer app that we're providing, and basically there will be a couple different accessories that you can build within there for free.
Nice. And is there a customizing feature?
For the collectibles themselves?
Yeah.
So right now we're going to launch with the figures as is. We are, and by the way, this is another thing that's exciting about digital, is we can add more to it because we can like patch it, add more to the viewer app and what have you. So one of the things that we want to do is make them like, and you've probably saw the demo, we can do animated figures. We're also working on doing so it's like, it's not just a figure that's static pose, it can actually animate. We're also building like posability into figures, so certain figures will our plan is to have features where you can actually pose them yourself and create your own environments with that within the galleries. Further customization will depend on the piece, but what we will say is, like, when you do the physical to digital equivalent, we of course, again, digital space allows us to do interesting stuff. So for example, if we had a figure that was one colorway in the real world, online we could do multiple colorways. So when you get that digital equivalent, you could get the same colorway, or you could get a rare colorway as well. So there's more of that. And of course, it being digital and having those the marketplaces that allow you to engage on that side, you can then go like horse trade with other people in order to get all the like either the digital matches or the rarest colorway. There's a lot of interesting stuff that you can do a lot more quickly and with a much larger audience in the digital space that'll allow you to further customize the space. And of course, in the space, you can place the pieces, either make it look like a really well laid out gallery, or just pile them all up in a corner if that's what you want to do, however you want to customize it that way.
And with them being digital, I guess, is there like a certain number or like serial numbers or like limited exclusives?
Yeah, so each, depending on how it drops related to the physical, obviously if there's a certain number of physicals that are made and we're releasing the digital with it, those numbers would have to like the number of units would have to match up 1-to-1. But the beauty of doing digital only or doing them day and date is we can actually increase the rarity on the digital where we make fewer of them. So if the manufacturing run, which necessitates a higher number, has like 10,000 pieces, we only have to necessarily do like 3 or 5,000 of the digital, if that makes sense. There's still a cost, and it's not a small cost to making those digital assets, but you don't have to follow the you avoid some of those manufacturing things, so it allows us to actually boost the rarity effectively. As far as matching them up 1-to-1, so it's like serial number one matches the other, that's something that we're working on, I should say that's something that we're looking into in order to make that work. Without unpacking it, there are a lot of logistical challenges that go into making that work. But it is definitely something like we're hearing that feedback from the community.
Nice. And can you tell us where you can find these figures, like the type of platforms? I remember learning about Polygon, but can you kind of explain what that is and where
Yeah.
to?
Yeah. So I think people have caught on, and I'm not trying to necessarily bury the lead here, but these are, so Polygon is blockchain. And for us, we very much look at that as it's like how like you go to like McFarlane Toy Store runs on the internet. It's like McFarlane Digital runs on the blockchain. Like it's the technology that just powers this, and it's about the figures themselves and making those as cool as possible. Basically, what we're doing with Polygon is just what it allows us to do is create an environment where people can trade these pieces very easily, at a very low cost and a very low carbon footprint. Just the nature, it's just the nature of that blockchain. It's a very well established, it has tens of millions of users around the world, it has huge volume at this point. But it's basically a blockchain, but it avoids some of the I guess the kind of misconception. At this point they're kind of misconceptions, but some of the negative sides that people associate with some of the larger blockchains out there, like if they think Bitcoin or Ethereum. It is a it's a very low gas. There's this thing called gas fees, which is basically the cost of doing transactions are extremely low on Polygon, and the impact on the environment because of that is also extremely low. It's no different than if you were to make any kind of like Amazon purchase. Like it's the same, it's like the equivalent. So we're using that technology to power it, but what that gives us being on a blockchain is you can see that whole transactions history, that whole ownership history that comes with a piece. Because it's like you see, okay, this is the piece, this is that serial number associated with the piece, and this is the wallet that it was in, and the whole series of wallets that might have historically been owned by, so you can see that whole history of it. Without going too much, I've already gone way too far into this. We are going to have on the McFarlane site, we're going to have this thing called McFarlane Toys Digital. McFarlane Toys.digital is going to be the site. And when you go there, that will be the marketplace that you will buy, sell, trade, collect these pieces on. So basically what you will do, and we have instructions of this on McFarlane Toy Store, is you're going to create a wallet, and the idea of a digital wallet is it's your place where you own these assets. So you truly own them, you truly hold on to them. They exist in this wallet. This is like your own wallet, and you can take it to whatever site support it, any other site that uses this. Like people are familiar with the space might think something like OpenSea or Rarible, for example. So basically that's how it works. You connect it to that site, you can buy, sell, and trade those assets on that site. When you're doing that, it's updating the blockchain that all this stuff is on. And then you of course then connect that wallet to our viewer app, and that's where you can see those pieces in the absolute like highest resolution environment that we created. We created this environment separately and specifically so we could have assets at the absolute maximum quality, that like, because there's no other way to do it except if like we're serving it in that sense.
And you can like buy them with like a normal credit card, right? Like you don't have to already be in a digital space, right?
Yes, it's a little bit more complicated than if you already like own like Polygon, which is the currency associated with it. But basically what you can do is there are tools that allow you to basically put your credit card in. It does what's called the wallet top up, where basically you get the currency and then it transacts it for you like all at once.
Yeah, I guess that brings me to my next question. Like,
Yeah.
what do you recommend for beginners just getting into the digital
Ooh,
world of collecting? Because I don't understand NFTs. I have tried,
yeah.
but I was like, this looks super cool to me. And from the demonstrations that I saw, I was like, oh, owning a digital gallery sounds really cool. So, what do you recommend for beginners?
That's a really good question. I would definitely start by checking out our website. We walk you through the processes that are specific to us. Um, One of the first things that you can do is download an app called MetaMask onto your phone. I MetaMask or another one's called Coinbase Wallet. Though both of those will work. But when that's basically a digital wallet, all you have to do, what that's going to have when you set it up, you walk through the instructions. There's going to be some like weirdness to those instructions that you might not have seen before. For example, it's going to ask you to make a passcode, and it's going to say store that passcode, keep it safe. The most important thing you can do, never ever 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 tell anybody that passcode, because if they have it, they can access your account. And unlike other places where basically there's a way to revert transactions, you cannot revert transactions on the blockchain. This is the important thing that people need to know. So if like if someone has that and they go in and take your stuff, you really have no way of getting it back unless they actually give it back to you.
Oh,
Does that
wow.
like make sense? Yeah, it's one of the challenges with this place. So that's one of the things that people have to know. And that's probably the most important thing when you're new to this space, is just to understand that. So pay attention to what you're doing and generally just be careful in it. However, it allows you to fully own your assets. You get to hold on to them. You get to trade them on our site. If you wanted to go to other marketplaces, you could trade it there. But that's like that's more advanced. Once you have that wallet, you can then connect it. You can then go to our site and you will be able to connect it to our site once the marketplace is live. Right now, you can go to that McFarlaneToys.digital, and on that site there is a link that you can press and pops up, and there's an email address and an and it says ETH address. So you can put your wallet address, which is basically a big line of ones and zeros kind of thing. Just copy it and put it in there with the email that you use to make purchases on McFarlane Toy Store, and you send it, and then we collect those. And basically that allows us to see, oh, this person uses this account to make purchases on our site. This is their wallet. We now know if they make purchases on our site that have a digital component, we can send them to that wallet.
And then how does
And
it kind of work, I guess, transferring like the physical product into a digital? How do they like render it?
okay, that's a really cool question. And this is definitely way up my alley, because this is like I worked in art production in this space and like leading art teams. Basically, our team of like the artists that create our digital assets are basically a who's who of developers, from some of the biggest like games and game studios that you know. Like I worked with a lot of them when I was at Riot and at Sony. They also worked on like numerous Call of Duty games, numerous like Battlefield games, like AAA developers making art at like the top of their game in this space. So the process is we take basically the 3D model that is the physical toy. So those start as it's a type of file called like an STL file. That doesn't really matter. What you need to know about is it's very, very large, millions upon millions of polygons, so that you can capture all that detail. That's good for when you want to send it to the manufacturer so they can do all the tooling to make the physical toy. But when you want to like render it in real time, it's too much. It won't run. You can only really use that when you're pre-rendering things. So we take that and we do a number of different processes. There's a process called retopology. There's a process called generating UVs, and then there's a texturing process. And what that basically is turning that model from millions or tens of millions of polygons into something that's only a couple 100,000, but still has all that detail kind of like baked into it in layers besides just model, but actually in like the textures of the object. At that point, we then have an asset that can run in real time. And then we do things like we rig it, which is basically when you put like almost a skeleton inside it that you can then like an armature effectively that you can then animate. And when you move the rig, it moves the shape of the object around it. And that's what allows us to pose or animate that piece. And then at that point, we put it into our engine. We're using Unity HDRP, which is a AAA game. It's a game engine that, I mean, people are fairly familiar with Unity. We're using the like highest end version of it as our rendering platform for all of this. They put it into that, and that's how you see it in the absolute like highest level of detail. And that's basically the process of getting a piece into that. And then the engine does there's a lot of magic that happens in there to make it render and look as good as it does, but that's kind of the process.
Awesome. And then is this available on just like mobile, or people can access it, say, from like their like game systems or like TV or PC?
So we're going to start on PC. That's going to be our launch platform. We are already working on a Mac OS build for people who have Macs. And we're starting there because they tend to be the most powerful devices that people tend to own, though late current gen game consoles are also very powerful. So basically, that's where you'll connect to it. We, in the future, will continue to add new platforms so you can access it in different places. And one of the things I'm really excited about, again, if my work history hasn't proven it, I am a big gamer, and so I have like a pretty decent gaming rig here. If you have a beefy PC, this thing will make use of it. Like like we have a lot of the latest rendering tech going in this, and you'll really see all that detail like come to life if you have like a decently powerful machine. It'll also run on low and mid spec machines as well. It just obviously won't look necessarily as good, but if you want to see that true like high spec version of it, like the top of the line experience, and you have the machine that will run it, we will push that machine for you with our stuff, and you'll really see it at that top quality.
Nice, super exciting. Anything else you want to share with us?
I think the most important thing for right now, if you're interested in getting into this, is our first drop is basically effectively live right now. If you are if you are shopping on the McFarlane Toys store, if you have more than $100 in your cart, use the code digital at checkout, and you will basically be added to the list to receive one of these free digital collectibles when it drops. If you're specifically if you're a Spawn super fan, and you use the code superfan at checkout and have a $300 cart or more, you will receive all three of the collectibles from our first drop. So you'll receive a Spawn, a Redeemer, and a Clown. And we're also doing the top 500 spenders on the store in the month of November. We'll also receive a Spawn, a Redeemer, and the Clown, and all this stuff stacks. So if you're doing it, you can keep making carts and keep making purchases, like, and you can keep getting as many of these collectibles as you want while supplies last for all of it. I would say you can, if you're familiar and comfortable doing that, but you want it and you don't know the other stuff, it's okay to start making those purchases now. And then we will be putting out lots of material over the next month to help walk people through the wallet creation process. So you have time to do the wallets, but I would get a move on the purchasing and making sure you lock in those spots, because once we're out, we're not minting anymore. We're keeping it locked down.
Oh man, get on it.
Yeah, exactly.
And can you tell everyone where they can find you, and if there's anything upcoming that you want to tell us about?
Yeah, I think most they can find, well, I'm on Twitter at Built by Trevor is my I guess my tag there. Follow McFarlane Toys on Twitter. Obviously go to the McFarlane Toys website. There's a tab at the top that says digital. If you go to it, it's where all this is. And yeah, and then either than that, look forward to like more drops and more exciting stuff from us.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Trevor.
All right, thank you.
Can't wait to get into this digital world.
I'm so excited for it. All right. Thanks.